Chicago, July 2023. A bloke nobody in America had ever heard of straps into a Trackhouse Chevrolet for his very first NASCAR Cup race, and by the end of the afternoon, he's schooling the best stock car drivers on the planet by nearly a full second a lap. A second per lap. On debut, the cameras zoom in on his feet, and that's when the whole paddock loses the plot, because Shane van Gisbergen isn't braking like an American. He's dancing right foot, rolling across the pedals, heel blipping the throttle, toe on the brake. A technique so old school that most Cup drivers hadn't seen it since Rusty Wallace was in his prime. He didn't just win. He made them look like they'd never turned right before. And here's where it gets spicy. Ever since that day, the road course rulebook has been shifting, track limits tightened, restart lanes tweaked, braking zones scrutinized. So we've got to ask the question that's got the whole Southern Hemisphere fired up. Is NASCAR rewriting the rules because they've got a problem with outsiders? Or is the truth even harder to swallow, that this Kiwi is simply too fast for the system they built? Buckle up. We're pulling this one apart, bolt by bolt. Let's lay out the case for the prosecution, because the conspiracy crowd have got receipts, or at least they reckon they do. Look at the timeline. SVG shows up, and suddenly road course track limits become the biggest talking point in the sport. At Circuit of the Americas, NASCAR started actively policing the S's turns 3 through 5 from 2025. Then came the confusion at turn 6, where officials admitted they'd botched the messaging so badly that they publicly said, and I'm quoting here, they will not make that error again. Drivers penalized, teams filthy, fans in the grandstands scratching their heads. Now the theory goes like this: SVG's genius is finding grip and speed where nobody else dares. He'll run a line so aggressive, so right on the ragged edge of the white line, that policing track limits harder just so happens to sand down exactly the advantage a road course specialist brings. Then there's the braking. This is the real meat of it. His heel and toe technique lets him use the clutch under braking, so the car free rolls into a corner, no engine braking, dragging the rear, no upsetting the balance. As NASCAR analyst Jeff Burton put it, that trick lets the car turn and rotate in a way left foot breakers simply can't replicate. It's not horsepower, it's not the car, it's footwork most of the field physically cannot do. So when the restart zones get fiddled with, when track limits get clamped down, the Kiwi and Aussie faithful smell a rat, because every single one of these technical adjustments seems to chip away at the one place SVG is untouchable. But here's the thing that stops this being an open and shut case, and it's a fair dinkum problem for the conspiracy theory. Because to know if NASCAR is really running an anti-outsider playbook, you got to look at what they did to the last blokes who invaded. And mate, history is not subtle. Rewind the tape. Long before SVG, there was another two-time supercars champ who crossed the Pacific and made NASCAR uncomfortable. Marcos Ambrose. Ambrose won at Watkins Glen in 2011 and 2012 using the exact same weapon, right foot braking, heel and toe, that lost art of car control. Kevin Harvick himself said Ambrose was the last one who was that good at it, and reckoned that if Ambrose had driven the machinery SVG has now, he'd have been a much brighter star. Same technique, same nationality, same establishment discomfort. And then there's Juan Pablo Montoya, the Colombian F1 refugee who rocked up in 2007 and started winning on road courses when Cup regulars couldn't get near him. Montoya spent his whole NASCAR career at war with the officiating, most famously done for a pit road speeding penalty at the Brickyard that he swore blind he never committed. Now, is that a genuine pattern of nerfing specialized talent to protect the good old boys? Or is it just that outsiders bring skills the sport isn't built to measure, so friction is inevitable? Here's the honest answer. NASCAR has always been a homer sport. It was born in the American South, built on ovals, marketed to a home crowd. When a foreigner shows up and embarrasses the local heroes on the 2 or 3 weekends a year that don't suit the locals, of course the rulebook gets a nervous once-over. And this is the pattern interrupt that changes everything. Not one of those rule tweaks ever actually stopped the outsider. Ambrose still won. Montoya still won, which tells you something absolutely brutal about what NASCAR is really up against with Van Gisbergen. Because you can regulate a car, you cannot regulate a pair of feet. So let's talk about the SVG secret, the glitch in the NASCAR matrix that no rulebook has figured out how to patch. The numbers are genuinely mental. In his first full Cup season in 2025, Van Gisbergen won 5 of the 6 road course races on the calendar, a near monopoly. He won the inaugural Mexico City race by 16.5 seconds, the biggest margin of victory in the Cup Series in over 15 years, while battling a stomach bug and leading 60 of 100 laps. At Sonoma, he led 97 of 110. He hit 5 career wins in just his 38th start, the fastest anyone's done it since the legendary Dan Gurney back in 1968. That's not a bloke exploiting a loophole, that's a different species, and here's why the bureaucracy is stuck. The heel and toe technique isn't illegal. It can't be made illegal. You can't ban a driver from using his own right foot. So NASCAR's in an impossible spot. When Ryan Blaney was asked about learning it, he said he'd need years to match his current pace. Kyle Busch tried it at an Indy test and was half a second slower. Christopher Bell said he wouldn't even know where to begin. Why can't they just learn it? Practice time. NASCAR restricts sessions to an hour or less, and open testing is basically banned. As Burton put it, you're going to use the clutch under braking for the first time during a 20-minute practice with the tire barrier waiting. Nobody's game, so the entire American field is locked out of the one skill that wins road courses purely because the schedule won't let them learn it, and SVG grew up doing it. To him, it's not a trick. It's just normal. I don't get what the infatuation with my feet is, he laughed. That's the open loop NASCAR can't close, but there's one more move on the table, and it's the sneakiest of the lot. Stick with me. Here's the part that'll do your head in. If you can't ban the technique and you can't teach the field to beat it, the only lever left is the calendar itself. Fewer road courses, more ovals. Move the goalpost to the tracks where your home heroes are king. And that is the real battleground, not the fine print. The schedule, if you're part of the 97 Nation, and yeah, he's carrying the number 97 now, the one his family raced to supercars glory down under, and you're sick to the back teeth of a rule book trying to slow down raw speed, smash that subscribe button right now. We're here proving week in, week out that talent beats politics every single time. Because here's the flip side, nobody in the conspiracy camp wants to admit. Is the rule book actually anti-Kiwi? Fair dinkum answer, no, not deliberately. NASCAR isn't sitting in a smoke-filled room plotting against New Zealand. Track limits needed enforcing it. They were a shambles for years. Restart zones get tweaked constantly regardless of who's winning. The paranoia is understandable, but it doesn't hold up. But here's the harder truth, and it's the one that stings. The effect is real even if the intent isn't. A sport built on ovals for a home crowd will always drift toward protecting its own. It doesn't need a conspiracy. The gravity of self-interest does it automatically. And every clampdown, every clarification, every schedule tweak just so happens to blunt the outsider's edge. So SVG isn't fighting a villain. He's fighting a system, one designed, however innocently, to reward the things the locals are already good at. And the beauty of it, he's winning anyway, by 16 seconds, on debut, in a foreign discipline. Now here's what's keeping me up at night before the next road course. If NASCAR can't beat him with the rule book, and they can't beat him on track, and what happens when they quietly start cutting road courses off the schedule? Watch that 2026 calendar like a hawk, because that's where the real war gets fought and nobody's talking about it yet. So you tell me, 97 Nation, drop it in the comments and don't hold back. Is the rulebook a shield for the weak or a necessary evil to keep the sport alive? We'll see you at the Glen.